TKO Boxing with Sherry Abbasi, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Khaleel Majid. Khaleel is a super lightweight, am I right? A super lightweight contender based in the UK from Bolton. Is that correct, Khaleel?
Bolton.
Yeah. I tried to do a little bit of research. Just my mind's a bit all over the place because, like we were discussing, it's Ramadan at the moment, so your mind can get a bit foggy. But alhamdulillah, so all good. Khaleel, first things first. I know you had a victory a few weeks ago. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you.
And obviously, you've got a massive opportunity coming up on the 5th of April on the now Joe Joyce versus whoever, undercard. We're going to find out who he ends up fighting soon. But for yourself, Khaleel, obviously, you're on a good run of form right now. You're an undefeated fighter competing in one of the most competitive divisions out there, especially on the British scene right now. There's a lot of good fighters at super lightweight as well. For yourself, how's everything going at the moment, and how are we looking in training camp moving forward towards April 5th?
Alhamdulillah, things are going well. Obviously, last year was a bad year for myself, inactivity and stuff. But now I gained some momentum. I kickstarted the year with a victory 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, and now I'm fighting again in 4 weeks, which is all I want. So, alhamdulillah, good start to the year for myself.
Yeah, main thing, like you said, is just having that momentum. I think inactivity is one of the biggest killers of careers, is what we hear for boxers. A lot of big fighters in America, for example, have been out the ring for over a year. They come back, they look rusty, then they're gone for another year. Errol Spence, for example, someone like that who's a top level fighter. So for yourself, especially as you're trying to build yourself, I think momentum and activity is key, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, momentum's a vital part of boxing. And now that I'm getting momentum, you'll see, inshallah, a better performance from myself in this next performance.
Excellent. And Khaleel, just a bit about yourself. How did you find yourself ending up as a professional boxer? Because a lot of people, the average person would think, bloody hell, this is not something I want to do, getting punched in the face. Did you have an amateur background, or did you just start boxing like straight as a pro?
No, it was a three-time national amateur champion. I boxed for England. I represented England about 10 or 11 times, I believe. I won gold at the Hereford, England versus Wales. I actually fought what's he calling a good prospect from up-and-coming prospect now from Wales called Sean Yaxler, I believe. Beat him, and then it just carried on to the professional. But obviously, my professional career is not taken off the way I would have liked for it to take off. But alhamdulillah, I'm still here. I'm going to keep moving.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you've clearly got a lot of experience in the bank as it is. So you've got that amateur schooling essentially, and you've had a lot of success on the way through. What is it? Do you think that's sort of stopped the momentum for you as a pro? Is it just strictly inactivity and that type of stuff, or what has led to you sort of being on and off sort of thing?
I mean, a lot of stuff happens behind the scenes, unfortunately. Obviously, I can't go into it. Obviously, after my big win against Tom Farrell, I was meant to kick on. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I'm glad it didn't happen because maybe I wasn't ready for what was to come. So, like I said, it was God's, not my time, and it's God's timing, and I think it's my time now.
Excellent. And like you said, the momentum is good because you've had a fight 2 or 3 weeks ago. You got one in 4 weeks, and hopefully, depending what happens on April the 5th, you can start putting together a bit of a run. You're an undefeated fighter, so obviously that's always something good for marketability and stuff like that. A lot of people make a big deal about having an O and stuff like that. And I know maybe for yourself, it's not as much of a big deal for you. You just want to get in, get the fights, and prove your own worth in that sense.
Exactly.
People win and lose in boxing, and you can always come back. That shouldn't be a thing that people are judged by.
What's your opinion? All the greats I've lost. It's part of boxing.
Yeah, that's exactly what is your opinion on the way people make out like the O is everything in boxing? What is your opinion on that?
In all honesty, I don't really get too deep into it. I understand, obviously, there's some world-class fighters out there, and there's some people that just have your number. It is what it is. It's boxing. You just have to prepare the best you can and just focus on yourself. And I don't really get too much into it. I know a lot of fighters are trying to protect their own stuff, but I don't really fall into the trap.
I think on the back of that sort of comment there about the not having to worry about having an undefeated record, we've recently seen obviously the emergence of Riyadh season and Turkey Al Sheikh and all the Saudi Arabian sort of push in boxing, and they're trying to make the best fight the best. And recently they announced the TKO deal with Dana White to launch a boxing league or a promotion where again they're going to have the best fight and the best. There won't be any ducking involved, and essentially it's going to have a format where the top 5 fighters, everyone mixes it up and fights each other. How important is it for boxing that when you've got fighters in a position like that who are in the top 5, that they all do fight each other to actually find out who the best is. How important do you think that is for the long-term health of boxing?
Yeah, it's very important because obviously in the division we want to know who the number one fighter in the division is. So it's going to be good for boxing, more competitive fights and stuff. So it'll be good for the fans that tune in.
Absolutely, and like you said, it does give us a clearer picture as to who the best actually is if you get the top 4 or 5 fighters all fighting each other, rather than just have one guy fighting XYZ and holding a belt. So hopefully, yeah, that will be positive. What is the sort of long-term goal for you, Khaleel, as a fighter? I know, like you said, you've got the amateur pedigree and you've now been fighting for a little while as a pro. What is the long-term goal? Like when you were young, obviously, you've been involved in boxing for a long time to have the pedigree you've got. What was the plan then? And has that plan ever changed? Or has the end goal ever changed? Or have you still got one fixed goal?
No, the plans always remain the same, obviously, God willing. The dream is obviously to become a world champion, and anything I can do towards that goal, that's what I'm looking towards. Obviously, going to be bumps in the road. It's part of boxing, it's part of life, and you just got to keep going.
Absolutely. And I think we mentioned earlier, obviously, you're fighting on April the 5th on a Frank 1 Queensbury card. Are you currently signed to anyone at the moment? Are you signed to Frank, or are you fighting
No. I was with Matchroom.
Yes.
And then I had a deal with Westman, but I'm thankful for them to allow me to go on this show and let me move on my career.
So is there potential that, obviously, based on how you perform on the Queensbury card, you could get signed up by them? Is there a chance of that?
In all honesty, that's not my focus. I know I've seen some things about, you should perform, you're going to get signed by Frank, etc. You know, the funny thing is, when I think it was 1920, I was in Frank's office with his son Francis. I was actually going to make my debut with Frank Warren. I've got an old picture actually when I was meant to sign to Frank Warren. But that's not my focus. My focus is just performing and just being the best I can.
Okay, no worries. So yeah, I mean, you've got you're quite level-headed, and you seem like you've got tunnel vision. Your aim is just to do the business in the ring. You're not bothered about all the outside noise from the sound of it, from what I'm getting.
No, of course not. I'm very fortunate where I just let my dad deal with that and my team. My job is just to get in the ring and just focus on the opposition ahead.
Absolutely. I think the key word there is probably discipline. You come across as someone who's very disciplined. How important, obviously, I know this is a bit of a silly question in a lot of ways. Discipline in boxing is obviously very, very important. It's key, not only to the way you fight, the way you live. Everything has to be on point if you want to make weight and stuff like that. So discipline is key. How important has discipline been for you in your career to get you to where you're at now?
Extremely, extremely hard. I mean, discipline is a crucial part of boxing. I mean, even when you're not fighting. I mean, I remember when I was sat on the sidelines for quite some time and I had to keep on top of my weight, still keep training. There was no, motivation to go to the gym because you have no idea what's going on. But I have that discipline to keep going, and inshallah, things in the end turn out good.
Yeah, because the reason I asked that was because, like you said, you've had a bit of a layoff and then come back and stuff, and I think it's important. We see with a lot of big fighters, like recently with Josh Padley, I know the story with him where Shakur Stevenson, Floyd Schofield pulled out the fight, and Josh Padley within 2 days he's made 135. So even for someone like yourself, now it's about staying on weight, staying disciplined, and taking any opportunities that come your way, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's part of the game. You have to be, what's the word now? You've got to be committed 24/7.
Yeah, boxing's the lifestyle. It's not a job, isn't it? That's the thing. Especially when you're all in, like yourself, someone who's a pro boxer, you're all in and you're going for it. You've got to really commit to it. Obviously, it's easy for me, like sitting on the sidelines, armchair critic, for me to say things, but for you, it's literally a lifestyle. You got every day. You got to be on point. And on the point of that discipline, Khaleel, a lot of fighters blow up massively in terms of weight between fights. Put on 2, 3, 4 stone, all sorts. You see it with a lot of top fighters as well, but they still manage to get back to the fighting weight. How do you operate outside of fight camp, for example? Do you try and stay as close to that weight limit as possible, or do you put on a bit of weight?
No, to be fair, because I train all year round, I don't really blow up. I keep healthy. I like to keep myself healthy. I mean, even when I'm not fighting, I like to train every day, just keep my body nice and subtle and stuff. So I can't comment on other fighters and how they live.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, so you're actually in a good place. So, for example, if you ever got a call like Josh Padley, there's a potential that you could make weight and take a big fight potentially if something like that ever happened.
I mean, we'll have to see about that.
Okay, not that close then, not that close to Josh Padley. Fair enough, that's fine. I was just thinking of the stories in recent times where we've had stories like that where people have jumped in last minute and, fine, Josh Padley probably wasn't going to beat Shakur Stevenson, but the fact that he was able to, make the weight and get in, and it's a great story in itself, isn't it?
He's done very well for himself, so fair play to him.
Fair play. And Khaleel, for yourself, now, obviously, as a Asian, as a Muslim, as a British Asian, we've had a lot of Asian fighters coming through now. Hamza Shiraz, Shabazz Masood, Hamza Uddin, Adam Azim, a lot of British Asian fighters coming through, doing well, making names for themselves, and sort of pushing on now. How important is it that these guys actually go on and have success for the next generation? Because we've got a lot of young kids coming through the system now as well, as amateurs and people turning pro of British Asian background. Obviously, Amir Khan, Prince Asim Hamed, sort of the trailblazers for people of our background, essentially. But how important is it that these guys really go on and become world champions and make a mark on yourself, following that same pattern? How important is it that you guys really have some success in the sport?
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, every single fight you've named, they're doing very well for themselves. And currently, out the British Asian crop are leading the way. You could say. So it's very important. Obviously, I know the next generation will be looking up to them. And now you see actually at more show, you see young, more British Asian fighters. Sorry, competing and stuff, which is good. Obviously, Amir Khan paved the way for like fighters like myself and and them. But they all seem to be doing well. So fair play to them.
And like we said, a lot of them are sort of doing really well. A few weeks ago, we saw Hamza Sheeraz challenge for the world title. Unfortunately, he ended up with a draw, had a broken hand. But it's a massive opportunity and a massive card. I know you said you don't really bother with the outside noise too much. You just focus on the ring. But these sort of big opportunities will come your way, surely, inshallah, if you carry on winning and putting together some big wins. In terms of like weight class, I know you're at 140 at the moment. What's the most you think you can make? How high could you go?
You know what? Yeah, when I was an amateur, I thought it would be middleweight, but it didn't happen. I don't know. I'd say I probably end my career at maybe 147.
Yeah. Okay. So you could go up to welterweight. Is it like middleweight too much of a push for you? Do you reckon?
We'll have to see.
We have to see what happens.
If the offer was right, maybe.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's usually how it works. Obviously, at the weight class in this country right now, Adam Azim is doing very well at 140 at the moment. What are your thoughts on the weight division as a whole right now, worldwide? I think Teofimo Lopez is the Ring Magazine champion. And then Gary Antoine Russell on the weekend on the Gervonta Davis undercard, he just became WBA champion. So it's got a good mix at the top as well, the weight class. In terms of the weight class itself overall, who do you think is probably the best fighter at 140 right now, in your opinion?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you because the division's so stacked. I mean, everyone's got the style to beat each other. As you said, styles make fights. There's not one specific champion you could, hit the nail on the head. They're all very good fighters. So, and I'm sure, God will, I'll get myself in that mix sooner rather than later.
Inshallah, yeah, I think that's a good point. I think a lot of people will automatically look at Teofimo Lopez because he's done a lot in boxing even at a young age. Yeah. But the thing is, he's a bit hot and cold. He'll have a great performance against a really good fighter, and then when the competition level drops a little bit, he's a bit hot and cold.
I understand where Teo's coming from because when the opposition's better, you rise to the occasion, and that's obviously clearly what Teo does. When the opposition's a lot better, he rises to the occasion.
That's that's literally what people say in boxing about him. That when there's top fighter, he'll match them or take it to the next level. Because
when there's someone you can beat, you don't really get up for it as much as you don't want to train as hard and stuff. So you can get you can obviously then it shows the lustrous performance.
Yeah, the issue with that is it comes back to discipline again, doesn't it? You've got to have that sort of motivation to just stay at the top, but when people go up and down, it's human nature. It can happen. So it's not necessary to cost Teofimo. It's just one of those things that he's been criticised for in the last 2 or 3 years, even though he's got big wins. So I just thought I'd ask your opinion on that of interest.
Overall, Teo's a very good fighter, which he is.
He's probably the most established in the weight class in that sense.
As a division, I'd say so. Yeah.
He's got the best wins, hasn't he? Josh Taylor and Lomachenko and stuff. But yeah, amazing fighter. Obviously, Khaleel, for British boxing at the moment, things are looking good in terms of the Riyadh season involvement. But 3, 4, 5 years ago, we had, without anything like that, we had massive fights going on in the stadiums. Joshua, Fury, everyone, massive fights going on. Tyson Fury obviously said, look, he's retiring from the sport. We'll see if that's actually true or not. What do you think is the future of British boxing without Saudi involvement, for example? Obviously, Joshua and Fury won't be around forever. Do you think these stadium fights will continue to happen? And who would you say are the next big stars coming through that will be able to sort of wave the flag for Britain?
Honestly, I can't comment on that because you just don't know how boxing works. It changes all the time. But I do think, in all honesty, Riyadh season is good for boxing because they're making the fights happen. What I want to see, what the general public want to see, what boxers want to see. And the fighters are getting paid well, which they should do. So I'm a fan of Riyadh season.
In terms of obviously we know that a lot of the big fights now are happening over in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
In a few weeks, we've got Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn happening. Obviously, that's a massive fight because of the controversy from 2.5 years ago. And obviously, the dad's names, and now they've got their own little beef after the egg slap and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of things going on. What do you think of these massive events like that, for example, which isn't necessarily the best versus the best? It's a very particular situation, but it's going to sell out 60,000+ at Tottenham.
Controversial themselves. Controversial themselves. I mean, whatever I think or whatever you think, it's still going to be sold. It's going to be sold out events. So fair play to them.
Yeah, it's true. Obviously, on the topic of that fight, for example, obviously you got a career middleweight essentially, and for a little while you went up to super middleweight, Chris Eubank. And then you've got Conor Benn, who's been 147, 154, going with 160. What do you think the outcome of that fight is going to be? I think a lot of people feel like Chris Eubank's too big. What's your sort of input on it?
I mean, I'm seeing something about what's the word now? Conor Benn saying he's going up 2 weights and stuff, but Conor Benn's been competing at 154. Yeah. Obviously, that's if he's a 154 fighter. He says he's a 147 fighter. I don't know, but obviously Eubank does struggle to make 160, which we know. And obviously with the rehydration clause and stuff, I don't know. I mean, I won't be surprised if Conor chins him or Eubank win by points.
So yeah, so a lot of people feel that Conor Benn's sort of got that ferocious style and he's very emotional, like his dad was against Chris Eubank Sr. So it's a lot of mirroring things between the two, the father and son fights. So we'll have to
be honest. Either way, whatever the victory is, it's not going to surprise me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because a lot of people are saying, look, Chris Eubank's too big. He should be able to take him out. He's got more experience, blah, blah. But the reality is, in these sort of big fights like this, you never know what can happen. And there's a lot of emotion involved. Like we said, there's a lot of history there between the names. So it'd be very interesting to see. Obviously, the April 5th card, Khaleel, obviously, apart from just featuring you, it's got a few other heavyweight fights on there. Coley versus Riyadh. Obviously, like we said, Dylan White, Joe Joyce has obviously been called off, but Joe Joyce is trying to find a replacement opponent. Yourself, obviously, on the night, you're going to be having a fight on the night as well. What can we expect from Khaleel Majid on the night on April the 5th? What can we expect to see from you?
You're going to expect, God willing, a good performance. And I'm not going to say how the victory's going to come, but I'm just going to say a masterclass. That's all.
All right, now fair. You know what? Like I said, you got your head screwed on. You're quite humble, straightforward, so I respect that. You're not going to say anything crazy. I don't expect that either, by the way. Khaleel, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up today?
Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to my team who've been backing me, my coaches and also my supporters. I'm very thankful. They've actually paved the way for me to be here right now on these big stages. So a big thank you to them.
No worries. And Khaleel, obviously, I've already got you on Instagram and social media. Do you want to just give us your social media tags for Instagram, Twitter, or anything like that?
Yeah, I just mostly use Instagram. I'm not really a Twitter person. I've got Twitter, but it's Khaleel Majid.
Khaleel Majid, straightforward. What I'll do, I'll tag you obviously your at in the bio and everything as well for the interview as well, yeah. And then I'll share that out there. Thank you, Khaleel. And yeah, hopefully I'm going to be on at the fight on April the 5th, so I'll catch up with you in person there as well. Yes, inshallah, yeah. I'll be there with my cousin, so Shani, so I'll see you there, inshallah, yeah. Fingers crossed, bro. Yeah. But thank you so much for giving me a bit of your time today. I know it's about 20 minutes. So thank you very much for giving me a bit of time, bro. You're probably very busy. Thank you. And then hopefully we'll catch up with you on fight week, inshallah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, inshallah.
Thank you, bro.